G'day there, Saints fans. It's Jayden here with another edition of OPPO View, where we sit down, discuss and dissect this upcoming games matchup. We are up against the Gold Coast Suns at Marvel Stadium on Saturday night. Going to be a perfect night for footy under the lights. Should be a really good atmosphere, really good contest as well. There's some things that both teams do really well, but some things that teams that don't do too well. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll sit down and see where the Gold Coast Suns sit at the moment. There is some really good form. They came off a really strong win against the Essendon Bombers last week up in Gold Coast. They were challenged late, but they really held their own and really able to withhold the pressure and snag the 4 points. We all know how Damien Hardwick loves playing at Marvel Stadium, so I'm hoping that can continue, and we can really get some form going into the back half of the year. There's a few players I really want to talk about. Starting up forward with Max's brother, Ben King. He's been in some really good form. He's equal, I think, second or third in the Coleman at the moment. Really taking his chances up there. He's leading really well. He's taking some really strong overhead marks, and he's really just capitalising on the opportunities and scoring well and scoring efficiently as well. And that's giving him a really good chance, especially when they get the centre clearances through Rao and Anderson and Miller, that, if you got a forward that can take a really strong mark leading up to the ball, that's a complete difference as to what we're doing at the moment. Partly because our midfield is just bombing it along and kicking it to a central point. Whereas Gold Coast do lower the eyes a little bit and really hit King on the lead and only allow for him to get the ball and not anyone else. So that's a danger worry there. I would assume Dukes will go to Ben from the outset. I think Dukes had a really good year so far. I know a lot of people don't think he has, but I think his performances this year have been really, really solid. Without being amazing, but without being disastrous as well. We stick in the forward line. They still got massive weapons across that forward 50. They got Jack Lukosius, who is a damaging forward, really good kick for ball. He's got the ability to push up to the wing, even play across half back, which he did a few times for Stewie Jew. But he can hit the scoreboard. He's had a few games of 3 goals. I think he had a game again for 5 goals. So he's no slouch up in the forward line. Ben Long's been in some really good form. We all know how inconsistent he can be. But when he is playing really well and attacking the man, attacking the ball, sort of playing with that white line fever, but in a restricted manner, he can really make a damage and be a pivotal part. I think he kicked 3 or 4 goals last week against the Bombers, and the same before that, the week before. So he's a damaging player. In the midfield, they've got some really good talent across the board. Jade Jeffries on the wing had a really good game last week against the Bombers. Nothing outstanding, nothing that's going to be like All-Australian contention, but he's just playing his role on that wing and would look to do the same. I sort of compare him to a Jeremy Sharp from Fremantle. Just someone who, 15, 20 touches, you can use the ball really well, hit a lead-up target, get 4 or 5 score involvements, and that's a really good performance from a wingman. In the central, we got Jared Witts, who didn't play last week under an injury cloud. Unsure of what that will look like this week, but if he does play, Marshall's got his work cut out for him. Witts is a very underrated captain, but a very underrated ruckman. Good around the ground, can take a strong mark, use the ball well, but also a really good tap ruckman as well. So clearances are going to be pivotal, especially when you then chuck in Matt Rao, Tuke Miller, David Swallow, who played the sub last week, but he's in and out a little bit. Noah Anderson, who's absolutely, I think he's probably one of their best players, if not leading their best at Ferris at the moment. Sometimes plays through the middle, but also can play across half-back as well. Their midfield's really, really strong. When they're using the ball well, they're one of the better movement teams in the league. I sort of compare them to GWS in a sense of how they like to run and spread once they've won the ball in the middle, or even across half-back. Penetrating, it's, running the swarm and really, get overlap handballs and open space, and then it allows to free up that forward line for King and Lukosius to really dominate as well. Cross half back, They're just a really solid team. Like there's no standouts. There's no massive star players. There's no Wiedering. There's no Taylor. There's no Harris Andrews. But they just do their role really well. They work as a really strong back six unit. Something that we sort of do as well, which I think has been a little bit unnoticed this year, is that back six unit. So the only good thing that one of the good things that I can look at is both teams are high turnover teams. I think Gold Coast are 1, St Kilda 2nd. So they, whether that's because of poor skills or they like to take the game on and they're happy to, die by the sword and really penetrate through the middle of the ground. So yeah, they're both high turnover teams. Gold Coast is 1st, St Kilda 2nd. It could be a range of things. I think for us at the moment, it's more poor skills and bad turnovers in bad positions. But for Gold Coast, their skills aren't that bad. Look, turnovers can be a little bit of a sign that, maybe they're not as good as they think, but they do like to take the game on, use the ball through the middle of the ground, bite off that kick that maybe only comes off 5 out of 10 times. When it works, it looks really good. When it doesn't work, it's not as great. So it's a tough matchup this week, albeit I know they don't travel well, they don't go to Marvel that well at all, but that means absolutely nothing. Had a really strong week against West Coast last week. It's time that we put the form back into action and really start get this season rolling. The competition's really tight at the moment, so if they're able to, if we're able to get the 4 points, it really brings us back to the pack, and then it opens up endless opportunities and never say never sort of attitude. So that's all from me. Get down to the game Saturday night, support the boys, fill the stands up, and really get behind them and cheer on a really good win. So as always, go the Mighty Saints.